Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
Writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for point of view.
All right, this is Jessie. I am so happy to be back with you guys. It's Labor Day. I know, most of you probably aren't even listening. Most of you are probably either tired from cooking out at the grill, been hiding from weather this weekend because we had some bad weather down in Florida, which worked its way up to parts of North Carolina. It's still kind of hanging around, but it's thankfully not as strong as it was. I mean, we've got people that have been up to all kinds of stuff this weekend. In fact, I got some station news. Yes, I do. I've got some station news. And you're going to have to pardon the background noise, because guess what? My husband, like most people, has Labor Day off. So, yeah, he's kind of hanging around. All right. So, I apologize for any background noise. But we're just going to have to work through it and keep on trucking. All right. So, happy Labor Day. And unfortunately, terrorism doesn't take a holiday. It may be a holiday for you and me, but terrorism doesn't take one. They don't know the meaning of day off. So, what can I say? All right. I got a whole bunch of news. We'll probably run through my mailbox, because believe it or not, that doesn't take a day off either. And then I do have a little bit I want to talk about Labor Day just for a minute. So, because it is Labor Day today. Why do we have this day off? That's kind of what prompted that one. All right. So, all right. Yeah, I'm being kind of slow. I'm being kind of slow on the draw today because, well, part of me would rather be goofing off. But believe it or not, there's still a lot going on in the world. Yes, that's the stack of paper I printed out during my show prep. So, bear with me for just 1 second. Alright, so, like I said, terrorism doesn't take a holiday. So on that vein, let's start with our good old friends ISIS. ISIS claims credit for a suicide bomb that killed 10 in central Baghdad. At least 10 people were killed late on Monday in a car bomb attack claimed by ISIS near a hospital. Yeah, why is it everybody suddenly wants to attack hospitals? I have no clue. Alright. In a central district, police and hospital sources said a suicide bomber targeted a gathering of Shiite Muslims in the Karada district, according to a statement by the Amaq news agency, which supports the ultra-hardline Sunni militant group. Yes, ISIS has their own news agency. Let's see, they've got their own currency, they've got their own form of punishment, if you can call it that. But yeah, these guys are getting a little nutty. Alright, at least 39 people were also wounded, and the death toll very well could rise, in fact, is expected to rise. The fight against ISIS, which seized a third, yes, 1/3 of Iraq's territory in 2014, has exacerbated a long-running sectarian conflict in Iraq, mostly between Shiite majority and Sunni minority. The militants have lost ground in the past year, thankfully, to U.S.-backed forces and Iranian Shiite militias. But suicide bombings and attacks show they can still strike outside their territory they control in western and northern Iraq. So, like I said, terrorism doesn't take a holiday, unfortunately. In fact, often they target holidays, especially if they can do a strike way outside their area and actually attack the country having the holiday. Now, thankfully, they have not yet had a major attack on U.S. soil. And I credit that because, guess what? I credit that to the men and women that protect us every day. Not just the military, but what about your local police force? And the intelligence services and all those people who do their jobs. And believe it or not, there are no days off for them either. Someone always has to stand on that wall and keep watch so that we may sleep under a blanket of peace and freedom. Yeah, getting a little mushy here. All right. Other news. Obama's meeting with Philippine leader. Oh yeah, this was a big one. So, Philippine president mouthed off, and President Duterte said before flying to Laos that he is a leader of a sovereign country and is answerable only to the Filipino people. And in answering a question about how he expects to explain the extrajudicial killings to Obama of more than 2,000 suspected drug dealers since he took office on June 30th, in his typical foul-mouthed style, Duterte responded, "I am a president of a sovereign state, and we have long ceased answering to any master except the Filipino people. Nobody but nobody. You must be respectful. You do not throw questions." So let me pull this article up again. It didn't print properly. Give me just a second. I apologize. I thought I had this printed. Well, it didn't want to cooperate, so give me 2 seconds. Because this is actually kind of made world news here. Let's see if I can tell where I printed this from. We'll just go with this version. I apologize if any audio sneaks in. I will do my best to kill it. I'm not planning any audio on this segment, but if some sneaks in, we will deal with it. Alright. Duterte had some outrageous things to say as he addressed the country's Armed Forces Central Command headquarters on August 5th. So he is this particular leader is known for being,
for a limited time.
All right.
A Frosty, just 50 cents.
Give me 1 second.
Dig in with a spoon or a straw.
I'll stick with a fry.
Because
that was not planned. Said, I warned you. It's what happens when I open unplanned web pages during my show. Alright, let's bring up the audio on the story.
Everyone, the language from the Philippine leader is graphic. He issued a direct challenge to President Obama, and President Obama not taking kindly to any of it.
Who is he?
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte amped up his use of vulgar language, taunting President Obama to not bring up the Philippines' record of killing alleged drug users and suspects during a planned meeting of Southeast Asian leaders in Laos.
I am a president of a sovereign state, and we have long ceased to be a colony. I do not have any master except the Filipino people.
Duterte warning anyone who asks him about the killings, some 2,000 since May.
You must be respectful.
Duterte switched to his native language to make his position even more clear.
Son of a bitch. I'll curse you in front of everybody.
Tell that to everybody.
Now, the White House says President Obama will not meet with Duterte, but if it were to happen, he plans to push for due process.
If and when we have a meeting, that this is something that's going to be brought up.
The drug lord.
Duterte's hardline war on drugs was a cornerstone of his presidential campaign earlier this year.
If I become president, there's no such thing as bloodless cleansing.
His comments about President Obama, just the latest U.S. concern. In another coarse verbal assault, Duterte called U.S. Ambassador Philip Goldberg by a homophobic slur after he criticized Duterte for making crass comments about the 1989 rape and murder of an Australian missionary when he was a mayor.
I was angry she was raped. Yes, that was one thing. But she was so beautiful. I think the mayor should have been first.
Statements by anyone, anywhere, that either degrade women or trivialize issues so serious as rape or murder are not ones that we condone.
For a one-way ticket to elegance, mix, rake, and comb. Voila. However, he is not just a...
All right, so you got to hear the president of the Philippines speaking for himself. And I apologize for that extra audio that slipped in, and I apologize for the crassness of the audio. But that shows you what kind of person we are dealing with. And I will mark this episode explicit due to his language. It was not something I had anticipated. I figured they would have bleeped it, but they didn't. I'm at least going to mark it. Alright. So the White House canceled their meeting. And another comment that Duterte said, he added that the Philippines had not received an apology for misdeeds during the colonization of the Philippines. He pointed to the killing of Muslim Moros more than a century ago during U.S. pacification campaign as the reason why the South continues to boil with separatist insurgencies. Duterte also pointed to alleged human rights problems in the United States. Last week, Duterte said he was ready to defend his bloody crackdown on illegal drugs, which has sparked concern from numerous countries. So, yeah, I don't see them getting together anytime soon. Alright, North Korea doesn't like this meeting. So, the G20 is going on. The G20 is a meeting of the 20 major economies, and they're holding a summit in China. We'll get more into that later, because my oh my, we are almost half past the hour. And they are meeting in China right now. So, North Korea, being who they are, launched not one, not two, but 3 ballistic missiles. Oh, yes. And neither South Korea nor Japan is happy with this process. Not at all. None of them like this. I mean, come on. Would you like it if, as I call him sometimes, the lunatic of the North always seems to be at it again, was constantly lobbing missiles over your country or into your airspace or economic zone? I'm sorry. I know I wouldn't feel safe. I wouldn't sleep well at night. I do have a bit of audio, and I think I've pulled the right one, so let's see what we got here. Alright, give me just a second. Let's get that queued up and try that again.
South Korea announced Monday that North Korea had fired 3 ballistic missiles into the sea in an act of defiance as world leaders meet in China for the G20 summit. An official from the South Korean Foreign Ministry spoke to reporters.
The launches constitute an act of grave provocation that show North Korea's nuclear and missile development poses actual threats to neighboring countries, the international community, as well as to the Korean peninsula, and the government strongly condemns them.
Monday's launches were the latest in a series of provocations this year, in violation of UN Security Council resolutions that ban all ballistic missile-related activities. Pyongyang rejects the ban as infringing on its sovereign right to pursue a space program and self-defense. The missiles landed in Japan's exclusive economic zone and drew swift condemnation from Japanese officials. This is a clear provocation, the Japanese cabinet secretary said. We're taking steps to invoke restraint from North Korea and to prepare ourselves for any situation that may arise. 2 years ago, the North fired 2 similar missiles as South Korean, Japanese, and U.S. leaders were meeting at The Hague.
All right. If you weren't expecting anything from North Korea, you obviously don't pay attention to world news and don't listen to this program very often. I can guarantee you, North Korea will be at it again soon. All right. Got one. So, the missiles were medium-range Radong class, launched as a show of force, timed to coincide with the G20 summit. And South Korea's Park told Chinese President Xi Jinping that the North's 4th nuclear test and its ballistic missiles launches this year threaten regional peace and pose a challenge to South Korea's ties with China. During the meeting, Xi reaffirmed China's commitment to realizing the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Xi also told Park that Beijing opposed the proposed deployment of THAAD anti-missile system in South Korea, which Seoul and the United States have said is designed to counter an increasing missile threat for North Korea. THAAD, for those of you who don't regularly listen, is terminal high altitude, I believe, aerial defense. It is not an offensive weapon. I do know that for a fact. It is not. In July, North Korea launched 3 missiles in a single day from a western region that flew across the country and into the sea off its coast, flying about 500 kilometers. Doesn't say how far these went, but they did enter it doesn't give me an exact distance, but they did enter Japan's exclusive economic zone. My oh my, where has the time gone? We are at the bottom of the hour. All right. Hang in there with me through the commercial break, and I'll peek in the chat room and see if anybody wandered in since my show started.
You can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they say if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
All right. Thank you for hanging in there with me over that commercial break. All right, back to my stack of news. All right. Not something I'd plan to mention, but for those of you who keep up with the United Nations, which I do to a large extent with my role on this show, this year's UN General Assembly will be September 13th through the 20th. All right, so there's a couple of things, a couple of other interesting articles I want to touch on before I get to the lighter stuff I have planned for today because, well, it is Labor Day, and even though terrorism doesn't take a day off, I didn't want to make today as serious as some of my other shows. We've got a new show launching. Yes, we have a new show. Actually, we have a couple of them. But I've got, hang on, let me find it. All right. Friend and routine guest appearances made by Dr. Judy L. Moore are actually going to be turned into her own show. Here's her intro for you.
The world around us is an amazing place, filled with beauty and with science. But let's face it, sometimes the science can be so confusing had to take the PhD to understand it. Well, you're in luck. I just happen to have a PhD. Come and take a seat. Perhaps I can explain the world around us in a way we all can understand. Welcome to Conversations in Science. I'm Dr. Judy L. Moore. Call me Doc.
All right, so that is going to be Dr. Judy L. Moore, or Doc's, new show. I will be producing that show, and I'm sure piping up, because if any of you have ever hung out with me, you know I don't keep my big mouth shut. So, all right, back to terrorism. Yes, we have one more terrorist attack I feel it deserves a mention. Unfortunately, there was a twin bombing near the Afghan Defense Ministry. It killed at least 24 people, including 2 security force generals, in an attack claimed by the Taliban. Like I said, terrorism doesn't take a holiday. Pardon me. My allergies are at it again. All right, so, and there were 91 people wounded, and it was in central Kabul. There were 5 a police chief and 5 other police officers were among those killed. This is from Defense Ministry spokesman Mohad Radmanish. Said the second bombing was caused by a suicide attacker who struck the area after the blast after security forces gathered there. So they did the classic: blast 1, draw everybody in; blast 2, kill the first responders. The attack took place as ministry employees were leaving their office for the day. Oh, no wonder it was such a high number. The suicide attacker was wearing a military uniform. Oh, joy. Oh, joy. A district police chief and an army general were among those killed in the attacks. Three different officials told the AP on condition of anonymity because they're not authorized to release the information. The second explosion was so strong, many people, including security officials, were killed and wounded. President Ashraf Ghani condemned the attack in a statement, saying the enemies of Afghanistan have lost their ability to fight the security and defense forces of the country and thus attack highways, cities, mosques, schools, and common people. Taliban spokesman. Yes, even the Taliban have a spokesman. Said his group carried out the attack. The insurgents have been fighting to overthrow the U.S.-backed government for 15 years and frequently target Afghan security forces. So, yeah. I get it, but I don't. Alright, let's see what else I got in my stack for you. I've got some Iran news, but we're going to hold fire on that just for a second while I see if I've got anything else. I will end with a little bit about Labor Day. Alright. Let me see which of the 2 audio files I've got for this topic is the shorter. Yes, I said shorter. Hey, I don't have everything as queued up as normal, but we're making this work. You guys have flown with me before. Alright.
Mecca sits in the western mountains of Saudi Arabia, in a sanctuary roughly 100 miles square. Since long before Islam, it has been considered sacred territory, where no one could hunt, cut trees, or fight. At the heart of the city is a great mosque called Al-Masjid Al-Haram, and at its center is the Kaaba. Muslims don't worship the Kaaba. They worship what it represents, the one God. Hajj takes place in and around Mecca. It is a series of rituals performed between the 8th and 13th days of the last month of the Islamic calendar. While circling the Kaaba is the final act of the pilgrimage, it is also the top priority for pilgrims when they first get to Mecca. For Muslims who have prayed in this direction every day for years, seeing the Kaaba for the first time is almost overwhelming. Now to the Valley of Mina, where the Prophet Muhammad stopped and rested on his Hajj nearly 14 centuries ago. This is a town that grows from virtually 0 to 2 million people overnight. At dawn on the next day, the camps stir with anticipation for the greatest day of the Hajj. 2 million people are off to the plain of Arafat. Some 50,000 vehicles clog the roads. Arafat is 8 miles east of Mina. It's the place, Muslims believe, Adam and Eve found each other after exile from Eden. And it's seen by many as a rehearsal for the Day of Judgment.
It's Judgment Day. All the trappings of life sort of fall away and you see these people in front of God Almighty. And that's all there is.
A strange quiet descends in the afternoon as people turn inward. It's called the Standing at Arafat. Only when the sun has set can pilgrims leave Arafat. Nearly 2 million people stand poised to move as soon as the sun dips below the horizon. The pilgrims move back toward the white tents of Mina, where tomorrow they will engage in a symbolic battle with the devil. Here, Muslims believe, God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son, but the devil challenged him not to. One story says, Abraham pelted the devil with stones 3 separate times, chasing him away. 3 stone pillars mark the spots where Abraham stood his ground. At a place called Muzdalifa, on the way to the pillars, pilgrims pick up pebbles to stone Satan themselves. The ritual is called the Jumrat. With all other rites complete, pilgrims return to Mecca for a grand parting visit. They have all earned an honorific title, Haji for the men, Hajjah for the women. Pilgrims arrive alone in a current of 1 million strangers and go home riding a spiritual wave of rebirth.
All right, so we all got to learn a little bit about the Hajj. Why did I bring this up? Iran and Saudi Arabia are sparring over running of the Hajj pilgrimage. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with everything, in 2015 there were a number of deaths that took place at the Hajj, and Saudi kind of flipped out, as any country would if there were deaths during a ceremony on their soil. So this prompted a number of things to happen, and there have been fewer Iranians permitted to be at the Hajj. So Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah al-Khamenei, renewed criticism of Saudi Arabia over how it runs the Hajj. The crash last year killed hundreds of pilgrims and suggested Muslim countries think about ending Riyadh's control of the annual pilgrimage. Saudi Arabia accused Iran, its main regional rival, of seeking to politicize this month's event, saying in turn on Monday that Iran was compromising safety with its actions. The Iranian authorities are the ones that didn't want the Iranian pilgrims to come here for reasons concerning the Iranians themselves, in light of them seeking to politicize Hajj and turn its rituals against Islam's teaching that compromise the safety of the Hajj. This is according to the Saudi state news agency. And the Hajj this year starts on September 11th. Does that date ring a bell with anyone? Yes, September 11th this year is the start of the Hajj. Saudi Arabia is the custodian of Islam's most revered places in Mecca and Medina. Saudi Arabia stakes its reputation on organizing a Hajj, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So they don't, and Khomeini says we must not let the rulers escape. The crimes that they're responsible for the crimes they have caused throughout the world of Islam, listing Saudi Arabia's involvement in conflict areas including Iraq, Yemen, and Syria on the side on the opposing side of Iran. All right, Rick is just poking his nose in. Sending me a message. I believe he's going to be live tonight. I have not checked. I'm seeing if I can get an answer to that America Off the Rails will be live. Alright, so. And Riyadh accuses Tehran of destabilizing Arab states and spreading sectarian violence by backing militias in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, and fomenting unrest in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Iran, of course, denies this. And what Iranian media and some Iranian officials are raising is not objective. They know before anyone else that the kingdom of Saudi Arabia has given the Iranian pilgrims what it gave others. An official Saudi inquiry has yet to be published, but authorities suggested at some time pilgrims ignored crowd control rules. So, last year there were hundreds of people killed at the Hajj. And the Hajj is a trip, and I do know this from some research, that every physically and financially able Muslim is required to take at least once in their life. Alright, I'm still waiting to hear back if America Off the Rails is going to be live tonight. I have shot Rick a message to see if he has news on that. Alright, on to Labor Day. Topic I promised I was going to bring up. Oh, I've got one other story before we get to Labor Day. Alright, almost forgot this one. It was mixed in with my Labor Day files. We're going to briefly cover this. Alright, Hong Kong is thumbing their nose at Beijing with pro-independence votes. Hong Kong's gesture of defiance to Beijing. Hong Kongers have elected a raft of young former pro-democracy protesters, including several who advocate for independence for the city from China. For those of you who live under a rock and are not aware of this, Hong Kong is controlled to a large extent by China. It used to be controlled by the United States. It is now controlled by China. As many in Hong Kong celebrate, Lam warned that reaction from Beijing may be dramatic. It's very likely that Beijing will use unexpected success of localist candidate as a pretext for cracking down even harder on Hong Kong. He pointed to previous parallels drawn by Chinese officials between Hong Kong independence advocates and separatists in Tibet and Taiwan. Excuse me. Last month, China's top prosecutor posted an apocalyptic video online warning that the country could become like Syria or Iraq if such independence movements were successful. Whoever becomes Hong Kong's leader next year might be asked by Beijing to enact Article 23, referring to a hugely controversial anti-subversion law that led to mass protests in 2003, and the eventual resignation of then Hong Kong Chief Executive Tung Chee-hwa. Beijing must be quite alarmed at the success of the pro-independence candidates. Despite early predictions that turnout would be lackluster, around 400,000 more people voted than in 2012. Lines stretched around the bloc in certain districts as many complained of understaffed polling places. More than 2.2 million people voted, according to the Election Affairs Commission, with the turnout of 58%, up from 53% in 2012. Hong Kong does not permit postal voting or early voting. First-time voter Sophia Chang said she couldn't afford to miss it. In Tao Kung Shing on Hong Kong Island, voters were still lining up as of 2 a.m. local time Monday. Others went out of their way to ensure they would be able to take part. Postgraduate student Derek Chan, 25, flew back from the UK to cast his vote. That tells you how important voting is to these people. Someone traveled 6,000 miles just to vote. When's the last time you heard of any American traveling 6,000 miles to vote? So Hong Kong, it seems those in Hong Kong do take their right to vote very seriously. All right, Labor Day, as promised. Labor Day is always the first Monday in September. It is a creation of the labor movement and dedicated to social and economic achievements of the American worker. It constitutes a yearly tribute to the contributions workers have made to strength, prosperity, and well-being of our country. Through the years, the nation gave increasing emphasis to Labor Day. The first governmental recognition came through municipal ordinances. During 1885 and 1886, from these, a movement developed to secure state legislation. The first state bill was introduced in New York, but the first to become law was passed by Oregon. 4 more states, Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York, created Labor Day holiday by legislative enactment. By the end of the decade, Connecticut, Nebraska, and Pennsylvania had followed suit. By 1894, 23 other states had adopted the holiday in honor of workers. On June 28th of 1894, Congress passed an act making the first Monday in September each year a legal holiday in the District of Columbia and its territories. More than 100 years after the first Labor Day observance, there is still some doubt as to who first proposed the holiday for workers. Some records show that Peter J. McGuire, General Secretary of the Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners, and a co-founder of the American Federation of Labor, was first in suggesting a day to honor those who from rude nature have delved and carved in all the grandeur we behold. But Peter McGuire's place in Labor Day history has not gone unchallenged. Many believe Matthew McGuire, machinist, not Peter McGuire, founded the holiday. Recent research seems to support contention that Matthew McGuire, later the Secretary of Local 344 of the International Association of Machinists in Paterson, New Jersey, proposed the holiday in 1882 while serving as Secretary of the Central Labor Union in New York. Excuse me, I'm having a rough day. What is clear is that the Central Labor Union adopted a Labor Day proposal and appointed a committee to plan a demonstration and picnic. Hence why we all think of Labor Day picnics and cookouts. The form of the Labor Day observance. Let's see what I got. All right. The form that the Labor Day observance and celebration of Labor Day should take was outlined in the first proposal of the holiday. A street parade was to exhibit to the public the strength and esprit de corps of the trade and labor organizations. Now, for those of you who are a little bit anti-labor organization, things didn't used to be so stable and so good for our workers, and many times there were problems at the workplace that could not be resolved easily. And so the labor unions used to be very, very much needed. I personally have some doubts as to how needed they are in this day and age. However, I still recognize everyone's right to choose to be a labor. I am part of a labor union. I am personally a fan of the right to work states where you cannot be forced to join a labor union. Yes, I know I'm almost out of time. I will be out of here in just a moment. Alright, so that's where we get the Labor Day picnic. The character of Labor Day celebration has undergone a change in recent years, especially in large industrial centers where mass displays and huge parades have proved a problem. This change, however, is more of a shift in emphasis and medium of expression. Labor Day addresses by leading union officials, industrialists, educators, clerics, and government officials are given wide coverage in newspapers, radio, and television. The vital force of labor added material to the highest standard of living and the greatest production the world has ever known, and brought us closer to the realization of our traditional ideals, economic and political democracy. It is appropriate, therefore, that the nation pay tribute on Labor Day to the creator of so much of the nation's strength, freedom, and leadership, the American worker. All right. On that note, yep, it's coming. On that note, I'm out